an opportunity to go through the slides and try it on their own?
Yes, I've taken a stab at Docker, so I'm using it on my. So I have VisualBox, so I'm using it with my Linux Ubuntu operating system. So yesterday I just played with it. I got the image for PostgreSQL, and I was able to do some creation of database and all that. So I think my Docker is working. Thanks.
Okay, so good. Did you have yeah, I don't know what slides were actually shared by our friend? Um,
I missed the last Docker class. But the first slide, the first Docker class, I used that
okay.
method. I used that method to. I was the one that said I had a VisualBox that I couldn't do it, but I went through the Docker sites and look at the way I could install Docker on my Linux machine on
Yeah.
VisualBox. So it worked for me, and I was able to pull some images and play with it.
Okay. So let me pull up the slides and let to see where we are with that. Okay, just one sec. Okay. One. And let me put these slides here. Yeah. Like the slides. Okay, I'm sharing my screen and
yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, so I believe we went through this. So you have done all of that, and um, so okay, what is that? So something on that slide which was no. Yeah, prereqs. Yeah, and all that. Yeah. So this one, did you go through this tutorial, Greg, on?
Yes, I went it the first time I went through these tutorials. I was able to get to this URL localhost/tutorials. I was able to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
So and I also tried with also another Postgres image.
Okay. So starting the sample app, did you go through the slides that go through? I mean, through the tutorial that goes through the not this one. There's another set here. This is the second tutorial, second set of slides. So you have your own Docker registry also set up, right?
Yes, I have my Docker set up. Yes.
Okay. Did you go through this data persistence part of it? The using uh, using a volume?
No, I'm not using the volume. No, this is for SQLite. Docker to by default.
Yeah. In the
Okay,
same.
no, control this. I don't think I've gone through this. Was this for the second class?
Um,
I think so.
I don't recall. I was absent for one class because I got stuck with something that I could not move.
Okay.
So I believe Kapil was running that. So basically, what this is, if you run a Docker container and then you got an application running and you do some work with it.
Yeah.
Then if you shut down the image and then remove the image, and then re-pull you want the Docker instance back again, run it and get a new image, then whatever data you saved in the last is no longer available because the container is different, and so it has lost all the data that you had was lost when you erase the image.
Okay.
So in um, um like how did we
I think I need to go through this one.
okay, so in this case it's talking about so you can create what is called a Docker volume, like what is here.
Okay.
So this Docker volume is uh, a name for a layer inside the Docker space in your Docker system. So it's not something that is on your file system. It is inside the Docker space. Um, you just know of it as a Docker volume.
Okay.
Once you have created this external Docker volume, you can use that external Docker volume by mounting it to your internal Docker volume,
Okay.
internal some directory on your internal container. So we had that application running where we had this to-dos application running. If you went through that tutorial, let me fetch that tutorial up. Hold on, please. Uh, I think it's called Docker 101 tutorial. Uh, Um, hold on. Let me fetch that. Labs.play with Docker. I think this is the one logging into Docker. Uh, uh, not this one. This is not what I was talking about. No, this is not what I was looking for. Sorry, hold on. I was went away somewhere. Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. Um, so if you look at that somewhere down here, it says persisting the DB. And here it says it gives you exactly the same thing that we were just talking about. You can uh, mount a volume, Docker container volumes. Yeah. So here, this is what it says: Docker create the volume. And the slide also talks about the same thing. It actually basically follows this. And then you mount this volume within the to-dos application. So uh, start tutorial. Yeah. This what we were looking at. I don't know if you went through this tutorial, Greg. Did you?
No, I've not gone through this one.
Okay. Um, okay, that is. hmm, I don't know how long this was going to take. Hold on. Topics. Let me see if I can recall all the old things that I. Uh, yeah, okay. I still have access to the system. And that should take me to the gallery applications. I'm just trying to get everything running, and 1 second. Um, okay, I still have my canary instance running. Okay. I mean, it is going to be too painful to recall all of this that we were doing before. So one thing I'm going to just go through these slides and sort of explain this. All these slides are available on the in Teams. So what it basically does is you create what is called a Docker volume. This is an area on your laptop which is not on the file system directly, but it is in the file system inside Docker's whatever Docker space you're having. It's called a Docker namespace.
Okay.
And whatever you do in this application, since now you're mapping something here, this is where is my mouse gone to here? You're mapping your Docker container that you created here, and you're mapping it to a place inside your container. So let us run this command and see what happens. Maybe we'll actually, oh, maybe first you have to run this command and then, okay. So let me get my,
I have a question for Mickey.
yeah.
Where can I see the file? I'm trying to get it on Teams.
Mickey, are you there?
Mickey, you're mute if you're speaking.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, where can I get the files? I'm looking for the files on Teams. I don't know where.
Oh, I can show you those. Hold on.
Okay.
Where is Teams gone to?
Okay. Yeah, so go to Teams.
Okay.
Go to Testoper project. And then in general, there's files.
Under what channel?
In general.
General, and then
Okay.
files.
General channel. Okay,
Yeah.
files.
Files.
Okay.
And just give it to,
Okay, Testoper program support.
yeah, support the program.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I've seen
Which place can you find these slides?
It's the large folder. Testoper program supporter project. It's all right there.
Docker Cube 1, Cube 2, Cube 3, these three. Yeah, these are the ones there. You were able to find them, Greg?
Yes, I'm able. Thank you.
Okay, so let me get my command window up, bring it up here, and we'll first run this command. This is copying from the slide is not very easy. So that has been created. Then we take this command and say docker run. So it ran. So we write docker ps. So it's running on port 3000. So if I go to my browser and say 127.0.0.1:3000, it fetches up my application. Well, this getting started program container I already had before I was running it, and so when I say item 89, these were already in my to do in this volume or in my getting started. I don't remember what I put it in. So suppose I add a new item here. 856. I add this item. Now I have 3 items, and then I go and close the application. Um, I do a Docker stop. 1848. So the container is stopped running. So if you do a Docker PS, you will not see the container anymore. And then I want to erase it. I can do a Docker PS minus A. Oh, it will show too many. Anyway, here it is. So this was 14 seconds ago. This one getting started just got in, and then it. So I'm going to erase this one completely. So I'm going to do a Docker RM minus F. RM is sufficient. One is the same 1848. So now I'm erasing the image from my system. So it's gone. So if I do a Docker PS minus A again, I will not see the system. It's no longer there. But then if I run the same command again, this one, and well, this, okay, let's kill this to do app. We should have done that. I see that item 856 is still there. Let's do it another way. Let's suppose I remove 856 from here, and then I close my application again the same way. I'm going to do it in I do a Docker PS. I get my getting started is df92. I'm going to remove it completely. No, what did I wanted to demo? I wanted to demo that I actually removed this. No, this is not what I wanted to do. Sorry, let's run it again with the same getting started. I should have gone here again. Anyway, let's refresh this. The item is not there. I'm going to add an item. And then I'm going to go back here. I'm going to stop the application or do it Docker RM. Yeah. It is going to be EF4B. Now remember that we have got 3 items here. We've got 3 items here. So, and we've already seen that we keep 3 items and we restart using the same volume mount. It'll, I mean, the items are preserved. But now suppose I erase this container, and then this is no longer working now because the container is gone. Really? Oh, no, it didn't remove it. Sorry. You cannot remove any container. Stop the container. Okay, let's stop it first. Or you do RM minus F to completely remove it. Force it to be removed. It will stop and remove it. Done. Now, if you refresh this, you'll get a cannot find. Okay. Now we'll open this, reload the same container, but this time we'll not use a volume mount. It doesn't. start it up. And it has absolutely nothing in it. So the external volume you can use by creating the volume like this said in this slide. You can create a volume and then mount that volume, and whatever is being done inside the container and stored in this etc to do's location is actually being stored outside here. And so even if the container is erased, this part of it is still there. If you mount the same Docker volume to another container, you can still get back the because that data that your application updated or stored is in an external volume and not on the container itself. So that's
Okay.
one way of making persistence. So that's what this part of the tutorial says, how to persist the DB, and it tells you what to do. Persist the data by creating a volume and then mounting the volume using a -22 dB. Okay,
Okay.
that's one way of doing it. The other way is doing a bind mount. The bind mount, what we saw now here is that when you create a container like this, there is no way you can look at the data um, from outside. From your file system, you cannot look at the data here because it's a Docker volume and it's not a file system volume or not a file system directory. But if you have a need to access the same data from the file system also, then you need to use what is called a bind mount. And this application, I mean, this example shows you how to create a bind mount and use a bind mount. What you will do is you will create a directory on your system and then make that into a bind mount by they explained what goes on here, and they tell you that that's your current working directory becomes the app directory inside, and that's where the things is the data is stored, and you can actually get to that volume even outside of the system without even running a Docker container. You can look at that data.
Okay.
If you have such a need for that, then you would use a bind mount. Bind mounts have their own issues, but especially when you're using databases and which are not where the database server is not a Docker container, but it is running on a separate system, you would use a bind mount because you want the data to be available to the through the database server for other applications to consume. And even if the application that puts the data in is down or off or shut down because of various reasons, you still need the database up and running. Then that's when you would use a bind mount.
Okay. Great.
And so this the further slides here also deal with the bind mount, how to you can look at a Docker volume, like you can inspect it, but you cannot actually see the data in it. You can only see its metadata. Let's see, where is it? What is its label? What's its mount point and such.
Okay.
With bind mounts, they allow you to persist data. See, volume mounts, Docker is controlling the data, and sometimes the data will be hard to get at.
Okay.
When you use a bind mount, we control the exact mount point on the host machine on your laptop, actually. And so So there is some explanation around what that is, and I don't know if there is an example too. Yeah, you need to first. You don't need to create a Docker volume. You can just use something called. Suppose you have a mount point called. I mean, you have a directory called slash app on your host machine.
Yeah.
Then you can use that to uh, use that as a volume that you're mounting, and then you can run your Docker container and persist the data into that, and so on. That's the other part of it, of the other part of persisting data.
Okay.
Then we come to what are called multi-container applications, where typically an application you will have an application and you'll have a database where uh, which actually stores the data, and then you have a richer way of looking at data, creating tables, creating a relationship between tables, and so on. So that's how an application can contain more than two containers. But in this particular case, there's an application with a front end and some business logic, and there is a back end database. So in this tutorial, multi-container apps is treated here. Basically the same thing, and for multi-containers to work, you must create a Docker network,
Okay.
and so you are creating a network through this, calling it
Okay.
the to-do app network. And when you run this, then these two containers that we are looking at here are in this one same network, and they can talk to each other. Okay, because a container cannot talk to another container unless you permit it to. So if you run two separate containers on two different in your machine, and they are in two different namespaces, they cannot talk to each other unless you create a network and connect them together. And this shows this is how you do. You will create a network, and then you will put both machines on the same network, and then they will be talking to each other. We come to the next step in this. Suppose you have more than one container, you have one or two or three containers, and you want to give this whole thing to the whole the whole shebang. You want to give somebody a means of running both the containers together in the way that you have connected it up, and you want them to quickly get up and running with it. Suppose you are a developer and you have made an application which runs on a database, and these two are packaged as two separate containers, and you have created all the networking between them. And so there are a bunch of commands that you need to run to get this all up and working. But now you need to give the whole thing to a to a QA team, and they have very little knowledge about Docker. All they know is testing. How do they stand this whole thing up on their system? And that is where this thing comes in. What is Docker Compose? Docker Compose, you tell Docker Compose what all the containers that you want to run in within one what should I say, application environment. And so there there's where you say what all you want to run. So you're having a um, this is an application service, and then we'll define it goes on to say how do you create something what is called a Docker Compose document that will put everything together. So Docker Compose will have services, and within services you have your app service, and then you have Okay, here services. You got the app service defined all the way up till here. Ports, volumes, environment, and then you got the environment in which is running MySQL and so on. Sorry, this the total services here. So you yeah. So where is the full right? Okay, now this is the whole thing, whole shebang. So you got services defined, you got an app service. This definition, you just put one line, but the whole definition you have to copy in here. And then you got MySQL, which is defined this way. This is the image it's using, and this is the SQL data. It's, I mean, the where it's writing, what are its environment variables, and then you also there's to do MySQL data volume is defined here. So this is all the things that you need to define in a Docker Compose. So that's the complete Docker Compose, right? So you got the app defined using Node 12 Alpine, and you're installing yarn on it. It's going to expose port 3000, and then it's you're going to use directory called app. You're doing a volume mount for app, and then you got it's running in its environment variables are its SQL host is called MySQL, user is root, password something, and the DB is called to dos. And then you got the MySQL service, which has all of this, and then there is a volume mount, sorry, Docker volume, which is defined this way. Now this whole file is called docker compose.yaml. And if you run the application stack, all you have to do is say docker compose up -d. And that will go through this file and do all of this stuff and get it up and get both of them up and running. Okay. So if you actually take this whole thing from here to here, and app to there is a docker compose.yaml here. So I prefer to work in Git bash. Do I have a Git bash shell already open? No. Okay. So I got the docker compose.yaml. Let's see what it contains. This should be familiar to you, Greg, because you're using a Ubuntu machine, right?
Yes, it is.
So, oh God, really bad. I can't look at it that way.
Can you open it with maybe Visual Studio Code?
Yeah. So let's get rid of this. It's not working for me. Let's keep it away from there. Keep this guy here. And come on, man. Open folder. So Did it open that or not? There it goes. So that's that's pretty much it. I don't want to compare both. It is you can if you want to. Uh, um, what happened to VC code? So, come on, man. So something like that. I'm using his food, and so I'm ready to run this. So I can go to my terminal and I can say docker compose up minus D or whatever that command is. Hopefully everything will come up. 3000 failed because the port is already allocated. So let me look at my Docker PS. So 3000 is already occupied by the other getting started. So let me stop that guy. 6004. So my SQL is running. Let me stop that guy also. What is this guy? 3F, 8F. 8F. I've actually got to remove it. And then I can run my Docker compose up minus D. And if I do a Docker PS here, I should see the 2 containers up. Why did this come up? I have no idea. So yeah, I have the 2 containers. One is called MySQL and the other is called Node 12 Alpine, which is what I expect. And if I look at this one, I see this app there. And this app is composed of 2 containers, app1, app1 and app MySQL1. And this app1 is running on port 3000 and MySQL is also running. You can look at the details if you like, not the CLI details, whatever. So those are these 2 things here that we see here. And what we see is when you have a Docker compose, the whole thing is one entity as far as Docker, the what is the Docker user interface is concerned. It's one app, and within the app you have 2 containers. So this is you can deal with this as one app. You can stop it, start it, open in Visual Studio Code, and all that stuff. You can trash it completely using the delete, and you deal with it as one. You don't need to deal with individual containers one by one. if, if they were like this, if the one was app and the other was MySQL, then you'll have to deal with them separately. But here, this is an app, so that's Docker Compose.
I have
There
a
are,
question.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's great to see this actually working with different containers. Now,
Right.
for like MySQL now that has a graphical user interface, how do you interact with it? Maybe a QA wants to, he has no idea about Docker and you've already helped him to stand it. So how does he use the GUI?
For the SQL,
Like the SQL, yeah, or yeah.
yeah, okay. So for running SQL, DB, you have to download a SQL tool.
Okay.
Okay. In my particular case, I have this thing called dbeaver.
Yeah, I have it too. I know of it.
Yeah. So now I have my to-dos.
Okay.
So connection has been refused because it doesn't have any connection at all. Okay, just let's open it first. Why is it not letting me even I don't want to, I just want to edit the connection. Okay. Now the server is called database is called to-dos, which is right. Port we are saying is 3306. If you look at this, where my port is, yeah, 3306 connects to 33060, which is correct. Okay, and in my Docker Compose, I had given a password as root and secret, right? So I go here, I change the password, I reset my password, I call it secret. And everything else seems to be okay. Let me say okay and see if the connection works. I should have tested the connection there itself. I can get it to work. I don't want to waste time in troubleshooting this, but this is what you would do. You would actually go edit this connection, see that everything is okay. No, server host is not local host.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense to connect with a tool like the Beaver and
Yeah,
use it.
yeah. I mean, all this is correct. I am not able to immediately diagnose why this is not working. I had it working. I had two databases running. I don't know what happened to my Postgres. It's not there.
Yeah.
Kill that. Let me see, where is my Postgres? Our friend Docker images. This is a useless interface. Okay. So let me start this Postgres thing. Docker run minus internal IT minus D. I don't know the command to run. I've forgotten the command to run the Postgres thing. How do you run the Postgres?
Postgres,
Anyway,
I
oh, you need the port also, right?
need it.
So you need which port it is to run on, which port you're exposing, and all that stuff. I may have saved it somewhere. I don't remember now. Packages back here on the clock. Let me see if I have saved the command somewhere. Okay. I think I just used standard Postgres from Docker Hub, and I just changed the port to okay. So this is the command to use. User interface created an entry point in Postgres. Okay, so that's the command to actually use. So let me check what I've set in this connection for Postgres. Postgres edit connection. Database is called Postgres. Port is 5432. Okay, put a port 5432. Database name, username Postgres. Let me call it. I think I had. Okay, let me do this way. Good. And okay, and then let me run this. Minus D Postgres. My secret password is and Postgres passwords. Okay, so let's run that. That's running. Can we connect to it? I should have tested the connection. Okay. Yeah, it is exposing port 5432. And we set the username for Postgres is Postgres. Postgres. Okay, say password locally. Settings, SQL, and I don't know why it's not connecting.
Yeah.
But this is the way you would do it, Greg. So
Oh,
you have to
yeah,
experiment with it a little and get it to work.
yeah. I'm even currently doing that.
Yeah. So that's one, the other part of it. What I wanted to actually get you guys to know is if you want to experiment with some other compose things, there is a website called Awesome Compose.
Okay.
So if you um, the one that I have actually I would suggest that you take one that has 3 containers
Okay.
and try to run it. This one is a good one. Nextcloud, Redis, MariaDB.
Okay.
This is a good one. This is the doc compose.yaml. Now, I have oh, okay, everything is lost here. So, is there Docker Compose on this machine? Okay, Docker Compose is available. This is a remote machine. This is running on AWS cloud. So the once you have built your images and you've built up a Docker Compose, the Docker Compose.yaml can be, your own. This one is all public images. You can pull your own images and put it in there, and then you can then once you have done all your development work on your local laptop and then push your images to your Docker registry, you can go to that remote machine. Where is that remote machine? This one. You could go to the remote machine, pull the Docker Compose file there, or create one there. So you say vi Docker Compose. And then you take all that is here. Is that the end of the file? No. So go take all that is there. What is there? Yeah. That part of it, and then copy it, paste it into your VI. Everything is inserted there. Sorry. Yeah, everything is there. So the only thing you have to notice is what are the ports you want to expose. So let's write this first, and then let's go to line number 1. Okay. So you're taking version 3 services. This is so this guy is exposing port 80. Okay. On this particular remote machine, I am not permitting port 80 to be exposed outside. I'm only permitting certain ports to be exposed. And so let me look at what ports I'm exposing. Give me a second.
But how long it would take?
Yeah, it's already 7:11, right? It's up to Greg.
Yeah,
I'll take another 10 minutes or so. Okay, not more
okay.
than that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I am on this machine actually, and I'm going to look at this machine. and it's network, and it's network, summary storage network. What happened to it? Where is my ingress? Interfaces. No. No. Operations. Come on. 2 instances equal to 18. Okay, status, health, everything okay. Static settings, environment, summary. I do want to look at net, not the summary. Okay, network. Oh, that is statistics. That's not what I want to look at. Network. Interface. Security groups is what I wanted to look at. I'm using this security group. And for me, Author Docker ports, I have ports 311, 3011 to 3020. So I'm going to use, let's say I'm going to use port 3020. So I go to my Docker Compose, back to my, and this one I'm going to say 3020. Sorry. And remove those two. So that's the external port I'm going to be able to access. And so I can now write this file, and then I can do a Docker Compose. Up minus D. Well, what did I call it? Docker Compose. Okay. Move goes to Docker Compose dot YAML. Version key. Documents are supported, but seeing the wrong compose. Version is specified 2.2 or 3.3. Okay. Don't be so angry with me. Oops. Okay. So, well, there are a few errors that you need to couldn't connect to Docker daemon. Is it running? Okay. So, sudo. If I do a sudo, is it going to work? It can be root and all password. It's 1 sec, I have to look for my password. It's been quite some time since I've used this cloud. Yeah. Okay, so for me, it okay. Let me try that. Okay, that was the wrong password. Oops, what happened there? Mm. No, it doesn't just Docker engine is running, but Docker is not running. Ah, that's all I needed to do. Everything's running. Exit out of that and run my. Okay, still it's not able to connect to this. So where am I? I'm at home, but I uploaded it. So let me do a sudo bash. Then I will say cd2/home bash c enter, and then do the same command again. Too many clicks. So it's pulling the 3 images there. So you get Redis, you get database, and then you get NC, which is the actual application. It's called Nextcloud. And so this is done. If you do a Docker PS, you will see the 3 containers running. Okay, so you got a Redis Alpine, you got MariaDB as the database, and you got Nextcloud as the third container. So you got these 3 containers running. So, and this Nextcloud is exposing 3020, right? So what is my machine IP address is um, and this my IP address 396.240.72. And if I go to my browser and I do that application and port 3020, and there you go. So that's how you would create your images locally, develop your application, do all that you require to put database and backend and front end and all together. package up the whole thing. I mean, push it to your Docker registry, create a Docker compose that puts all the three things together, pull the Docker compose onto your remote machine, and then whenever you need to run up an instance of it, just run it. And that will serve up the application from your cloud system. I hope that was useful.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm also going through the site now to see how I can play with it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I hope that was useful. And I really wanted to take you guys through, how to create an API using tooling that's already available. A lot of automated creation tools are available, but takes a long time to set up a demo for such things, and I've been unable to find the time to do it. Okay. Today's session is done. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Went beyond what I 7, and thanks for hanging on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Partha.
Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Thanks. And
Have a
Bye.
good night.
bye.
Bye-bye.